not often you see an aircraft carrier being towed to its final resting place. Frankly, the sight is a bit ghostly. For the faithful few who served aboard her, it's hard to watch. The giant ship, at one time the most powerful in the fleet, unable to move on its own, its gray rusting hull now at the mercy of a simple tug, slowly pulling her through the fog-enveloped waters of Puget Sound. The observer watches an empty and lifeless flattop float by, which only adds to the eeriness. The scene is a far cry from the once constant beehive of activity found on the 80,000 tons of American diplomacy that I experienced as an F-14 Radar Intercept Officer deployed aboard her. Over the carrier's half-century-long career, 5,000 sailors at any one time, from the captain to the most junior of crew, all called her home and brought the ship to life in faraway places like Yankee Station, the Persian Gulf, and the frigid waters off the coast of North Korea. Despair may not be the right word because we all knew this moment was coming, but it certainly is a depressing feeling to see a ship that was once so proud heading on its way to the scrapyard. The USS Kitty Hawk, CV-63, note the absence of the N for nuclear, was commissioned on April 29, 1961, and was the last of the conventional, oil-fired aircraft carriers in service. In contrast to a nuclear-powered carrier, the whole ship smelled like JP-5 jet fuel, not just a hangar deck. And because it seemed like the water tanks had a cross-feed directly with the fuel tanks, many of us probably drank the equivalent of a Chevy Camaro's gas tank full of JP-5 laced water by the time our tour was up. My first sight of the Kitty Hawk, also lovingly known as Battle Cat, was when it was in a port maintenance period at Yokosuka Naval Base in Japan. There were ship workers crawling all around her, hammering and sawing away, removing asbestos-infected parts. The ship's interior layout, while similar to the newer nuclear-powered fleet, had a few whimsical differences. The first was escalators, one forward and one aft, that made the ascent from the second deck ready rooms to the 0 to 3 level much quicker than climbing ladder wells. Unfortunately, the escalators rarely worked and even made a few attempts to kill you when too much weight would pile up on a dormant one, resulting in a group of aviators rolling backward. Another visible difference was the layout of the island, which is the superstructure above the flight deck, and essentially the command center for all flight deck operations. Daytime flight operations required a representative, or rep in the tower, to be present during flight operations. This duty normally belonged to a junior aviator, likely a lieutenant or lieutenant junior grade. One of the unfortunate differences from a junior officer's perspective was the tower's interior layout, and in particular the air boss's proximity to the rep. Contrary to a spacious nuclear carrier's tower, on the Kitty Hawk, the reps were positioned directly behind where the boss would stand at his window with only a 3-foot corridor of space to move, and more importantly, nowhere to hide. A typical conversation with the boss ended up with him turning directly around into the rep's personal space and asking rhetorical questions like, "Why the hell does 102 want to depart and re-enter, with the boss's nose about 8 inches from yours? I don't know, sir. I'm not in the jet. Well, damn it. He's screwing up my airspace like most ships that stay in the fleet for an extended period of time." The Kitty Hawk saw a few notable changes to its mission and modifications throughout its service life. One was its redesignation from CVA, attack carrier, to CV, multi-mission carrier, back in 1973. This entailed enlarging the ship's jet blast deflectors, JBD, so the Kitty Hawk could launch and recover the Navy's new F-14 Tomcat. According to the Kitty Hawk Veterans Association webpage, this modification also included moving aircraft elevator number 1 outboard by a few feet, making it raise and lower at a slight angle. Tomcat Bubbas will note that the F-14 was never shot off Cat IV, Catapult 4, located at the edge of the port side of the ship. If memory serves correct, the Cat IV JBD was much smaller than the other 3 JBDs, and thus you could burn up some aircraft positioned on Elevator 4, or even those lying landing signal officers on their platform nearby with the widely spaced nozzles of the big fighter. Plus, the Tomcat's wingspan made it almost impossible to have a clear shot off Cat IV with all of the port side antennas and other equipment being a hazard for a launch.